To no surprise, the layoffs in tech industry continue to impact so many. I touched a bit on the topic in an episode which I released in September last year, basically trying to raise a flag that some turbulent times are ahead of us. Couple of highlights things I mentioned there. Number one, to aim for a safety net, to put some of your earnings aside. Number two, to get better at networking, try and reach out maybe for some of your old connections. And third, yeah, definitely develop your skills further or try to gain access to new skills. Feel free to check that episode later. I will leave the link in the description. Now, though it's not the most joyful topic, I cannot ignore it since this is a channel dedicated to the IT industry, technology, and design. I also want to put this message out as support to all of my previous students or people that I had the pleasure to work with and might have been impacted by the recent layoffs. I hope that you guys are fine since you proved time and time again that you're capable of coming up with valid ideas, deliver results, and definitely accomplish your objectives. For the rest, following with this vlog, I will try to share the facts, so the numbers to understand the size of the phenomenon, my beliefs on why this is happening, who are the most impacted by the layoffs, and when can we expect things to turn around because nothing lasts forever. Okay, you know me, it's not only about talking on and on here on the channel. I do want to bring some relevant information for you out there if you're still following. So let's have a look. Number one is taken by Amazon, yeah, for the beginning of this year, with 18,000 people from its global workforce. Okay, so on the right we have the absolute values. That's roughly 1.2%, 1.5% of their workforce. Second place goes to Google with 6%. That's 12,000 people, plenty for only 1 month and a half. If you like the content on Creative Instruct, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification icon. I do make tutorials on different tools that could benefit you, the designer or IT professionals, and from time to time I will bring news and updates from the industry. The third place goes to Microsoft, 10,000 people. Probably it won't stop here. Salesforce follows, it's the fourth place. Huge CRM. Okay, a company that is well established and known in the market, and many other services and enterprises rely on conducting business with Salesforce. Dell, fifth place, that's 6,600 people, so quite close to the fourth place. Next we have IBM, almost 4,000 people. GitHub, well, if you're a developer, you already know GitHub. It's a code repository. 3,000 people, guys. SAP and PayPal, 2,800 and 2,000. I'm sure you heard of PayPal. Well, SAP, it's a huge company here in Europe. At the bottom of the chart, we have Yahoo, Twilio, Coinbase, Spotify, Zoom, but maybe over here the number doesn't seem that high in absolute terms, but think about it, 20% of the entire workforce, that's not good, definitely. And when I look at Zoom, like 2 years ago, they were considered a unicorn. Okay, people were heavily invested in Zoom. In total, this would be around 68,500, maybe almost 70,000 people that have been let go. And this is without entering into the equation smaller companies. Why we got here? Because if I would say that this is not new to me, you might think that I'm just making things up. I've seen this before, but not at this scale. When a company has access to resources, needs to start new projects, so it goes in a hire frenzy. HR will probably hire hundreds, sometimes even thousands in only a couple of months, just to let them go 1 year later. Maybe you played some strategy game where first you need to collect resources in order to establish buildings and troops, just to go to offense and conquer the map. As long as the resources flow in, you are able to do exactly that. But as soon as you start to run out of them, well, you're gonna need to adapt and make your attacks and defense function with fewer troops. Same thing happens here in the late 2019s and beginning of 2020. Access to capital became cheaper, so those large enterprises could launch new initiatives and hire more people in overall trying to expand at a rapid rate, yes, and satisfy their investors. From 2022, well, things changed due to the recession and the reverse process started happening. Some projects had to downsize, and others that were considered more bold and daring with high risk, high rewards in terms of innovation were totally canceled. A good example here is the metaverse. Okay, now this brings us to who are the people that have been let go. And from what I noticed on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media channels, a big part of them were recent hires, someone with 2 years or less of experience. Now, truth be told, also people with 5, 7, or more years inside that company carrying out different roles, okay, from designers to developers, and plenty of people in middle management. I do agree that having a ratio of 4 managers to 1 developer doesn't make sense. Not that I have something against management, don't get me wrong, but as an IT company, that's not sustainable to have 4 people making presentations, prioritizations, and coming up with ideas and pushing work, and only one executing, being directly involved in the production of the assets. At Twitter, yeah, that's a good example, and they had to address it as soon as possible. Now, I bet it doesn't feel good. Everyone that went through this needs a salary. You got bills to pay, mortgage, rent, food, or medication, maybe kids. In terms of reactions, some are optimistic still about their future. They played cool and they thinking of the next moves, and that's what you should do. And they will find another position sooner or later. Now, maybe the paycheck or perks are not gonna be like before. Still, you need to adapt and, of course, perform at your best wherever you are. To wrap things up, it's hard to say when everything is gonna switch back. An optimistic answer from my point of view is that in 1 year, more or less, but again, the game will look a bit different because we start to rely on AI, no code tools. The keyword now is productivity. So the jobs that are gonna appear will have slightly different requirements. Yeah, you need to try to adapt fast, learn from failures, and push for success. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment, let me know what's happening with you, and I'll see you in the next episode.